Alright, so last video was kind of a just update video, but we're actually going to be doing some repairs, and not on anything old. Well, technically this is old, but we're going to be working on the old Duramax, and she's got a leak, and it's not a good one. There is a fuel rail down in here that has a fitting that threads into it, goes from female to male, whatever it is, but it's like a restrictor. And so this one, when I did the injectors, I sealed it, but I think it cracked when I broke it loose. So I didn't know that until it was too late, and now we got to go in there and replace it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about on this other fitting. And then I'll show you the leak, because the leak is pretty good. Like, I just pulled it in and there's a puddle underneath it. But it's this fitting right here. And I think the housing of the actual rail itself is what's cracked. But I've tried everything to try and seal this on the truck, and it's just not doing it. So factory fuel rail, factory fuel plug. This isn't turned up or boosted or anything like that. This is just the normal stock. What is it, LB7 or I can't remember. It's Gen 1 Duramax. This is a 99, so it's literally like the first one that came out. So this is about as much as the repairs is injectors, because the factory injectors can hang open and just fill the crankcase full of oil, diesel, and it's a nightmare sometimes. But new injectors, lines, everything except the rails, and that was my mistake. So if you're in there doing this, do the rails, seal that plug, and just do it right the first time, because it's not fun doing it again. But I'll show you the carnage. I literally parked this 2 minutes ago, and I know I had parked it. I just drove it in, stopped, shut the key down, and I walked back over to the Ranger, went, picked it up, grabbed my parts, came back over. So that's a sign of how much this thing is leaking. But we've had our fair share of issues with it, and it's done well. This thing took us from California to Texas over 4 times, I believe. 3 or 4 times. So between those trips, it was about 8,000, 9,000 miles through the deserts, through everything. So I'm gonna get started and start tearing it down. And I'll bring you guys back once I'm ready to start tearing into it. Alright, so got the Duramax all buttoned up. So if you're wondering, I knocked it out because I was trying to get it done as quickly as I could, but sorry. Pull this blue tube off. This will move out of your way. Alternator, get that out. Pull this out, pull the air box, and then drain your coolant to, where is it? Right here. So there's a fitting, or a line that goes right into the housing. You have to remove this one, and then you'll swing that over and get it out of your way. So you have to drain the coolant to that point, and then there's the PCV, which is really just a draft tube on this, and that runs right through here. Pull that, get it out of your way, disconnect it from your head. You don't have to worry about pulling all that out because you're just on this side. But once you get all that out of the way, unplug the harness and lay the harness over here, and there's a little brass fitting. I'll show you right here. You can take this harness and kind of hook it so it'll hold it out of your way, and then yeah, you'll have the alternator out of your way, and the rail sits right here, and there's 3 12mm bolts that hold it down, pull your lines off of it, all that fun stuff. So that's how far you have to dig into it. You really need like a 15, a 10, an 8, and a 12 for a socket, and have some wrenches, same size. But this is what I was dealing with. This end of the rail, and that's where this plug will screw into, but it's got a taper, and it seats itself into the end of the rail. And what I was having an issue with, as you can see by this one how nasty it is it sits on the valve cover like this. So it sits somewhat like that. And if you're sitting there and you could barely see this right here with a flashlight, and you have your feed line and adapter that screws in here, I could watch it drip down and run down the valve cover. And then when you're running, obviously it's spraying over the top, so that's why there's all this nastiness all over the place. But yeah, that was my problem with it. And got all that sorted. I made a bit of a mess with the coolant because I missed my pan, but it's all good. But yeah, this, you don't have to worry about getting the AC compressor out of the way. You don't have to worry about evacuating that. Don't need to pull the turbo. Same thing goes with when you do the injectors. Like, you got to remove all this stuff. This pipe, you can still roll it out of the way, but if you can get it off, it just gives you more room. You got to pull the fuel filter base and everything. Another thing I forgot to mention is you got to pull the module here. And just be careful when you pull it. Don't like kill it. Don't like just obliterate it. But it's sensitive. You don't want to pressure wash it, whatnot, yada yada yada. And then if you're doing this side, you gotta pull your glow plug relays, disconnect these. You can unbolt these, and then the harness, same thing. When you get to the harness area, take it, you can fold it over this way. But for this side, it's best if you get rid of the AC compressor, get it out of your way, so that you can get to the fuel rail and the feed line on this side, which is under here, and then pull your thermostat housing and your coolant tubes and everything, and lay them over. Disconnect your fuel lines, lay these back here, and just kind of get everything out of the way. And then you pull your upper valve cover after you get your nuts and your retainers loose, and then you can get into the lower valve cover and get all that out of the way too. And there's a return line in here that takes some interesting bolts. So if you're going to do this, replace your injectors and replace your lines, get some good quality lines, because for whatever reason the ones I got weren't good quality. See if I can find a bolt. Probably not going to be able to find one, but they are oh, here's one. These guys, these like to strip out. They can also stretch. Get yourself a set of these before you even start, with all the gaskets, because these are on the valve cover. And if you start leaking, you'll fill up your oil pan with diesel. You're gonna hate your life just because you didn't replace these. These were like 20 bucks for the set of, I think it was 8. Yeah, I think it was 8 or 10. But these guys, don't skimp on them. And then valve cover gaskets, you know, get all the seals that you can get, because you don't want to have to go back in there. And that's why I say get good quality fuel lines, because when I got mine, I had a bad one on the passenger side that I had to replace because it was corroded when I got it, and they said that it was good. So get brand new or a trusted refurbished line, and then check your fuel rails. If you spin that fitting off when you're trying to get the feed line off, just make sure to clean it really, really good and get it torqued down properly, or just replace it. Because I wish I would have known. I would have replaced that rail as soon as I saw that thing back off when I was trying to back the line off. So just a heads up. And I also had to replace that feed line because it twisted. Like, it just was all bad on that side. So just a word of warning. And always disconnect your batteries when you're doing this, because you don't want to short out and light the diesel that's on leaking, obviously, on fire, and you know, burn the whole thing down when you're just trying to fix it. So yeah, I'm gonna prime this, fill it up with coolant, and see how we're doing. I hope it's sealed. Don't know what else to put on it. I mean, that's new injectors, new lines, so don't know what else. But yeah, I'll get you guys back on it once I get it primed, and we'll take it for a spin, because this it's stock. There's nothing special about it, but it's a fun truck. Like, this thing it's great. But these aren't the ones you want to go tuning on real crazy, because the firing order puts a lot of stress on the crank. So if you start cramming boost and fuel into it, you could split the crank in half, and really don't want to do that. But you can change the firing order with a cam and a tune, get that all sorted out, so you have less stress on the crank. You can get a main girdle, you can do all that fun stuff. I don't plan on it, because I want to keep this thing how it is. It's my old man's truck. Just leave it stock, because it pulls the trailer just fine, and rarely ever overheats. And we were pulling a really heavy trailer across New Mexico and Arizona in 118 degree weather, and she got warm but never got hot, like nuclear hot. It got warm. So pulled over in the shade, let her cool down, and got something to eat and drink. And I burned my hand like 4 times on that power steering pulley, because I had to tighten up a hose clamp down there. But other than that, this truck has been solid. So you don't need to tune them up all crazy to get a good tow pig. You just need to make sure that they're reliable and that they can do what you want them to do. So this one does exactly what I want, so I'm going to leave it alone. Simple as that. It's already got some decent tires on it, 4-wheel drive, Allison, you know, the whole thing, 14-bolt rear. It's solid. So gonna get back to work on it, and hopefully everything's good. I'll give you an update when I get it started. So alright, so the old Duramax is back in action. So far so good. I haven't spotted any leaks, and the diesel leak that it had was immediate. It would just pour out. So I don't even see a drip, and the little vibration you might hear is exhaust. But she's back to life, sounding good, nice and smooth. Gonna take her for a rip and double check that leak, because if this solves it, then this thing's back to action and back to work, which is what we need. So alright, well, that'll do it for this one. We'll be back on the Model A soon, and I gotta order some parts for the old tractor. So take it easy, guys, and I'll see you later.